In this video, I'm going to show you how to perform Fota updates of your ESP32-based IoT device using FotaHub. If you haven't already done so, start by creating a product on FotaHub. You can check my previous video for guidelines on how to do it. Download and uncompress the FotaHub device SDK for ESP32, and then go to the FotaHub project repository on GitHub to test some examples included in the SDK. On your laptop, make sure you have a text editor or IDE such as Visual Studio Code and a serial monitor such as CoolTerm. The easiest and quickest way to run the examples included in the SDK is to use Docker. If you choose to use Docker, a dedicated Docker image provided at Docker Hub gets automatically pulled onto your machine when running the build commands. If you are an experienced user, you may also opt for installing the complete set of prerequisites directly on your machine instead of using Docker. They include ESP-IDF and ESP32 toolchain. Instructions on how to install them are available on the GitHub repository of the project. The ESP SDK comes with 3 examples: simple, revertible, and ThinkShadow. We'll stick to the simple example for now. The simple example demonstrates the most straightforward manner to make firmware over-the-air updates with FotaHub. It's kind of Hello World example for Fota updating and a perfect way to get started. First, you need to create and run the initial firmware version. To do so, open the simple example folder in Visual Studio Code. Go to the configuration header file in the demo project folder and initialize the Wi-Fi SSID and Wi-Fi passphrase constants with the credentials of the Wi-Fi network you want to connect to with your board. Also open the demo product info header file and initialize the demo product ID and the demo product name constants with the ID and the name of the previously created FotaHub product. In order to retrieve the ID of the product, go to the Product Details view on FotaHub, click on Settings, and then on the Expand button under General. Copy the ID into the clipboard and then initialize the constant accordingly. Update the demo product name constant with the name of your created product as displayed in the product settings. Leave the demo product firmware version as is for now. In case you have selected anything else than SHA-256 as the binary checksum algorithm for your FotaHub product, or opted for using a signature instead, you must also adjust the demo product firmware update verification algorithm constant accordingly. Make sure that Docker is running on your machine. Open the integrated terminal and build the example by invoking the mind-making Docker script according to your operating system. Building the example by running mind automatically generates a script named Flash. You can call that script to flash the firmware binary that has resulted from building the example to your board by simply providing the serial port it is connected to as an argument. Point it at the serial port your board is connected to and set the baud rate to 115K. Open the configured serial port, observe how the firmware starts up and verify whether it connects to the Wi-Fi network. Also have a look at the red LED next to the USB port on your board. It should blink with a period of approximately 1 second. Now you need to create and upload a new firmware version to FotaHub. Go back to the demo product info header file in the demo product folder and bump the demo product firmware version constant. You can optionally increase the blink frequency of the red LED on your board by decreasing the blink period in the configuration header file. Rebuild the example using Docker in mind and locate the resulting new firmware binary file named demoproduct.bin in the build folder. Copy its path to the clipboard and upload the resulting new binary as firmware version 1.1 to your FotaHub product. To do so, go to the product's dashboard and find your product. Click on the product name to open its details view. Click on Upload Firmware and choose the Upload with Wizard option. Enter the version of the firmware to be uploaded and optionally a comment. The version format must match the firmware version and scheme defined upon product creation. Click on Next to get the binary upload page. Drag and drop or browse the binary of the new firmware version to be uploaded, and then on Upload to start the firmware upload process. When completed, you will get redirected back to the product details view and see the newly uploaded firmware version along with its properties. Most importantly, you will be able to find the firmware binary download URL and its checksum that has been automatically calculated based on the binary checksum algorithm chosen upon product creation. Copy this checksum. Now you can make your first firmware over-the-air update. Go back to the Serial Monitor app showing the execution status of your board running the initial firmware version. Enter the new firmware version followed by a colon, the checksum or signature, and a terminating line break in the text field or dialog provided for sending data over the open serial port. Submit the firmware update info string to your board. This will trigger the firmware over-the-air update procedure. Upon successful completion, the board will be restarted with the new firmware version downloaded from FotaHub. To verify that, check the firmware version in the banner showing up in the serial monitor output. If the new firmware version includes the change to the blink frequency of the red LED on your board, you should also see that the LED is blinking significantly faster now. Congratulations! You've made your first Fota update of your ESP32 IoT device using FotaHub.